Welcome, everyone, to episode 107 of Puppet Masters and Castle Freaks, the internet's leading all things Charles Band podcast. I am one of your hosts, Jared Hornbeck, the podcaster who eats hot tamales first thing in the morning. And I am coming to you from Hayes Candy and Paper Store. Well, I mean, at least what's left of Hayes Candy and Paper Store. And it's located here in Brooklyn, New York. And if you are joining us for the very first time, welcome. And if you have been here since the very beginning, welcome back. But I am not here alone. Who is here with me?
Well, it is I, Steve Guntley, and I'm sorry, I just got some breaking news here. It turns out the Charlie Daniels Band is now the Charles Band. Okay, so that's good to know. We just needed to codify that real quick. This is the podcast about Goblin Skin, Alien Turtles, and cool guy Eddie Deason. That's because this is the podcast about Laserblast, an early Charles Band Productions hit that not only funded a lot of future projects, but gave us an all-timer of a Mystery Science Theater episode. And I'm going to be really real with y'all. I'm largely going to be talking about the Mystery Science Theater episode in this because it's kind of the most notable thing about Laser. But there's some notable things about Laser.
There sure is.
But I'll have a lot to say on a topic that we actually have not covered in that much detail yet. So this gives us a good opportunity. And we have a very exciting guest joining us once again to talk about Laserblast. Who is here with us today, Jared?
Well, we have a very exciting return guest. He is a local New York City filmmaker and producer. You had heard him on the show before last year talking about The Ginger Dead Man and The Ginger Dead Man 2, Passion of the Crust. Good friend of mine and former, I guess you could say, employee of Full Moon, and I look forward to getting a little bit more into that aspect of his past. It's Adam Torkel. Adam, thanks for coming back on the show.
Hey guys, it's really exciting to be back on. I remember when you started this podcast, I think one of the things I asked was, can I do the Laserblast episode specifically because of the Mystery Science Theater 3000? But now that I've seen it without the Mystery Science Theater 3000, I may have regretted.
I was going to say, now you're saying, can I not do the Laserblast episode?
Yeah, oh my
God. Bad news for you. We're already recording. So.
I'm super happy to be back. It was a real fun watch. And nice to talk to both of you boys again.
It's great to have you back. It is noteworthy that I still giggle every time we say the title Passion of the Crust. That still makes me laugh. I think that's still really good. So it's still bringing it up. Now, I don't know how y'all consumed this movie. This was my first time watching this movie without the Mystery Science Theater element of it, and I immediately went back and redid it with the Mystery Science Theater one because, man, it's that is just the preferred way to watch this.
Steve, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Are you ready for some football?
All right, watch out, Thunderbucket. Oh God, so many good ones. I'm excited to get into it, but before we get started with that, I think we do need to hear a little bit more about Adam and your experience with Full Moon itself. I don't remember if we got into it in your previous episode much.
I think we got into it a little bit. Actually, my friend who listened to the last episode that I was on reminded me that was not my first Full Moon experience, that in high school we had met Charles Band in a kind of weird way. This is back in the MySpace days, and they were doing the Full Moon Road Show, and it was going all over the country, and I had won tickets it could have been from Icons of Fright or Fangoria, one of the profiles in my top 8. So I was only definitely 16, and we won tickets to the road show. But when we got there, it was only 21 plus because it was at the China Club. And my friends and I were just a couple of sad high school horror boys sitting outside the China Club. And Charles Band came down and signed us these, at the time, oh my goodness, I still have it in the other room. It's the ultimate edition. It's a giant black box set of 15 movies, 10, 15 movies. And he signed it. He apologized that we couldn't come, and he hoped that this giant box set made it all worthwhile. And it absolutely did. I still have it sitting next to my TV.
Amazing.
Now that awesome. The internet in my apartment is not great, the physical media is coming up super handy, and that box set is never far from my DVD player.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I'm going to be stocking up on physical media very soon myself, much more than I have been of late, especially with the new Night Owl video that's going to be opening up in Williamsburg in about a
Ooh.
week and a half, which I'm really excited for. Isn't it funny how this stuff is cyclical? Like, it's funny, like now we're excited about a video rental store. We're excited when we talk about how like we can watch Pluto TV and it dictates what's on TV for us with ads and everything. It's like we just reinvented cable.
Oh, love it. I
Oh
love it.
yeah,
You know,
we're
that's
just coming
where
back around again.
that's where we've all come around to. We all have like enough streaming services that it's just the same as getting basic cable at this point. And like streamers are revolutionizing the new like TV show formats. Like, what if we did them once a week and you had to wait for them to be out at a certain time and then people got together and watched it at the same time? Aren't we geniuses? Like, it's all cyclical.
I can't, Adam, I have to tell you, man, I was listening to what you were saying, but I went completely like, I detached completely for a second when you mentioned the China Club, because I have not thought about that place in so long. Like, I forgot that was an established, this was like a nightclub that was near like in Times Square, basically. It was on like 47th and Broadway.
Which, as we
yeah,
all
it
know,
wasn't
is
the
the coolest
prettiest,
place to go in
street.
New York. Yeah, yeah.
Oh
yeah. It was what a place. Not exactly
all the
like
locals.
yeah, it wasn't the coolest, trendy downtown club that you could go to. That's for sure.
If
Man,
if
I
either
hadn't
of
thought
you
about that.
are if either of you are ever in the Austin area, we'll have to do my favorite 1-2 punch, which is going to the Workhorse Bar, which is a nice little divey place that always plays like horror movies on the TV. And then right next to it is We Love Video, which is like a nonprofit video store with a ton of like early like full moon VHSs that you could rent. You could rent a VCR if you don't have one. Like, it's an awesome little spot. And like, get a little buzz at the Workhorse, go over and look at the video store. That's like my kind of dream day. That's a good time.
Yeah, that's
So
how I spend all my money.
Yeah,
that's
hell
how-
yeah.
Drinks and physical media. Oh, that's a problem.
That's how I will be
yeah.
spending all my money soon. I have a lot to say also about like things tangentially related to Laserblast, including Mystery Science Theater, among other things. So this is probably as good a time as any, Steve. Throw us some stats about this movie that certainly coincidentally came out about 9 months after Star Wars.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah, there's some good stuff about this movie. Now, Laserblast was released March 1st, 1978. It's directed by Michael Ray. It's written by Frank Pirelli and Franny Schacht, and it is starring Kim Milford, Cheryl Smith, Gianni Russo, Keenan Wynn, Dennis Berkeley, Eddie Deason, and Roddy McDowell.
Wow. Oh,
Wow.
sorry. I heard Eddie Deason, so I was summoned.
Hey, you guys! I'm a tough guy in this movie.
It's actually not a bad Deason.
That was pretty good. Yeah.
That was for my first attempt at a Deason. That wasn't bad. Laserblast is a classic case of starting with the title and working backwards from there. It's actually one of the first times Charles Band really embraced this technique, and it's worked out very well for him over the years. Now, by 1978, sci-fi was having a major resurgence thanks to the double dose of Star Wars and Close Encounters of the Third Kind, the two biggest movies of 1977. So Band chose the most sci-fi sounding title he could come up with and worked from there. So Laserblast is a very good sci-fi title. Like, I don't immediately think tattoo removal or LASIK, I'm thinking spaceships. I'm thinking pew pew.
Sure.
So he brought in Michael Ray, the not to be dismissive of him, but he was a former actor with a pretty severe cocaine problem around this time in the 70s, who had directed Band's Fairy Tales, which we covered with Michael Gingold, the dirty erotic musical that was one of the strangest little trends in cinema of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And he let his early mentor and friend Frank Ray Pirelli write the script along with a writer named Franny Schacht. Now, their script took elements from the aforementioned blockbusters and added a touch of teenage angst a la Rebel Without a Cause to keep the action grounded. That movie really was very big for like the baby boomer generation. That was like you see a lot of Rebel Without a Cause like infused in a lot of movies like this. Now, Band talks about the making of this movie in his book. He had a couple of interesting stories. One of them involved his editor, Gary Allen, who one day took Charlie aside to show him footage from a new trailer he was editing, a movie that had not come out yet. That movie turned out to be Star Wars, and Band claims that that was the first glimpse he ever got of Star Wars, and he thought, like, wow, this looks really special. And so he was able to get a copy of the logo, blow it up real big in real low res, and put it on a billboard that they could blow up in this movie, which I think a lot of people at the time interpreted it as like a pot shot at that movie, and he claims he loves Star Wars and doesn't mean for that to be like a slam on it, but I don't know. He's blowing up a sign that says Star Wars, and there are other jokes about Star Wars in this. Yeah,
I think it's in true Charles Band fashion. He saw this trailer and obviously knew of probably at least the promotion of both Star Wars and Close Encounters of the Third Kind, because this movie, you can look at it and be like, oh, it's really derivative of something that's bucking a trend like that.
Mm-hmm.
But this movie was shot before both of those movies were released.
It was, yeah. It has a much, like, usually we've gotten used to the Charles Band pipeline of 3 months from script to release, and that was not the case back in the 70s. He was still, while working with a decidedly minuscule budget, he was, the filmmaking is more of a process back then. Now, the second noteworthy story that came out of the Laserblast shoot is that Charles Band was out scouting locations and playing around with the little laser prop arm in the desert when a PA came out and told him that his first daughter had been born. So that was where he was when his first child was born. He zipped out of there to get back to his wife and see her the first time. So I thought that was a sweet story. Now the casting here.
Oh, sorry, Steve.
Oh, yeah.
There's another story about you're talking about this this laser arm gun prop, right? And there's a lot of times when like Kim Milford is using this thing at night and they're exploding cars and things out in the Mojave Desert. A funny story came from in Empire of the Bees rather about this movie is that somebody who like lived nearby was really upset at the fact that they were like shooting potentially without permits and stuff, like in the middle of the night, essentially testing the pyrotechnics for these big explosions and crashes. And an active sniper shot at the cast and crew while they were doing some of these scenes at night. Thankfully, no one was hit or injured or killed during this.
Dear Lord.
But yeah, it's it's very much like the climactic scene of Targets, where someone was just really upset and up from the top of a hill in the Mojave Desert was actively shooting at the cast and crew to get them to stop blowing things up in the middle of the night. So this movie. Go ahead, Adam.
I have not a sniper rifle, but we were shooting a promo for a movie in Brooklyn, and it was nighttime. It was pretty bright. I do apologize, but someone started dropping bags of water, trying to hit the camera gear, and that was the end of the shoot.
No.
Oh yeah, I mean, we got permission. We did it all the right way, but still, some of the neighbors on the higher floors were not happy, and someone started just hucking bags out. And the DP, whose camera we were using, just looked at me. He goes, "Yeah, I think we're done for the night. I think we got what we need." Wow. And yeah, that was that. But better than a sniper, but not according to the DP. He was pretty mad that his camera got a little wet, which
that'll happen.
Yeah, so there's I feel like this movie, there's a lot of really interesting footnotes about it and things that are tangentially related to it that are maybe more interesting than the content of the film itself. Like I find already, I mean, we were only, maybe 15 minutes into this recording or something like that. And I feel like there's a lot to talk about with this movie. And I feel like already I enjoy the fact that we're here, that we're at Laserblast, and there's all of this related to Laserblast type stuff. Because for the movie itself, I mean, it kind of, I don't want to besmirch the good name of Bill Rebane. I mean, that guy, he was a real maverick in terms of film, not film preparation, but I guess film storage and ways to revolutionize how film can be spooled into a camera. But he also made a lot of movies that took place in very beige settings with people milling around waiting for something to happen.
Man, is this ever a beige ass movie? Yeah, this is we'll get into that a little bit more. I want to talk about the casting here because this is actually some pretty interesting and largely kind of tragic stuff with this cast. Now, Kim Milford is our lead here. He's a young actor making his feature film debut. And at this time, I didn't realize it, He was known for originating the role of Rocky in the very first Broadway production of the Rocky Horror Show in 1975.
Yep.
So he is the first Rocky. So he was kind of like Buzzy off of Broadway, and that's sort of like where his career was going. He had a few other small screen roles throughout the 80s, but sadly he died in 1988 at the age of 37 of a congenital heart defect. So very sad. Another tragic figure that we've covered here is Cheryl Smith, aka Rainbow Smith, an early 70s skin flick staple and the star of other band productions like Cinderella and Parasite. She sadly had a pretty severe heroin addiction through much of the 80s. She was able to kick it, but it took some tolls on her health. And in 2002, she died at the age of 47 due to complications from her past. We have another interesting figure here, Gianni Russo, who plays Tony. A fascinating guy, allegedly a former mob enforcer, real life mafia guy who transitioned into tough guy roles in everything from The Godfather to Super Mario Brothers. He's in everything. And he had a long and wild career as an actor, a musician, a restaurateur. And in 1988, he killed a man in a Las Vegas nightclub because the man came up and stabbed him with a broken champagne bottle. And so Gianni Russo, who had a concealed carry permit, pulled a gun and shot the guy in the head and was cleared on self-defense charges, so he's also defeated more than 20 other federal indictments tying him to various organized crime figures. So, and he is still with us. He's 81 years old, still kicking. I
have a question
guy.
For both of you.
Yeah.
Did you know that Gianni Russo is the single most important person in bringing The Godfather from the streets to the screen? Did you know that?
I
know.
Oh, well, he'll tell you.
He'll tell you that.
he certainly will. I mean, that guy loves to talk about how he was the one who found the Staten Island shooting locations, how he was the one with the real mob ties and all of that stuff. So this is another amazing thing about Laserblast. This is the first opportunity where we've had a direct pipeline to The Godfather. Like, we go kind of wild sometimes on our tangents, but we actually have legitimate 1 degree of separation from Laserblast to The Godfather. And it's like, we do this show and we start talking about some of these movies and the opportunity to talk about The Godfather. And he's in one flashback scene in The Godfather Part 2. Correct me if I'm wrong.
He's Talia Shire's like shitty husband.
Yes,
is that right? Yeah. Who gets who James Caan wails on in the street in that iconic scene. Like, that's a good scene.
Yeah, and then he's the one, he sets up James Caan to go drive through the toll booth. And get shot approximately 4,075 times.
Yeah, no more squibs had been used until RoboCop after that, I believe. Yeah, poor guy in the office scene. A couple other figures we have to talk about here. We have Keenan Wynn, veteran character actor, showing up pretty late in his career. I would say he feels maybe a little sauced up in this movie. Maybe he's embracing the method a little bit here. But he's great. I love Keenan Wynn. As does the legendary Roddy McDowell, who we've talked about him before because he and Band became very good friends after this. They bonded over a mutual appreciation of film preservation. Now, in the pre-VHS era, basically you could only watch movies in the theater, and if you wanted to see a movie, you had to wait for it to come around to like a repertory drive-through or something like that. And a lot of times if those movies didn't do well, the film reels were just tossed away or were burned or destroyed or some way. So Roddy McDowell was kind of an early pioneer in terms of like grabbing up these old reels, these old unwanted reels, and archiving them and preserving them. And Charles Band got into it after visiting his house and seeing his basement. And so he started snatching up all the old film reels that he can. And there's a really high percentage of these kind of grindhouse or B movies that exist because Roddy McDowell and Charles Band were preserving it, including, if some rumors are to be believed, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That was almost a lost movie after a certain point because multiple distribution chains went out of business for that movie. It was about to go into the ether, and they grabbed it and preserved it. Yeah.
Oh my God! Can you think of the world if the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was a lost film?
Isn't that crazy? Yeah, that's so crazy to think.
I know. I don't like to engage in hyperbole all that often, but I think it's safe to. Who am I kidding? Of course I do.
Of course,
but I think it's safe to say that this show would not exist along with the majority of things that we enjoy and have consumed over the years, would not exist if
It's
the Texas
true.
Chainsaw Massacre had become a lost film. It's
Yeah.
like one of those little sort of serendipitous things that you never really think about because you just take for granted that it's existed for your entire life and you've had access to it. And now, I mean, you're getting anniversary screenings and 4K remasters, and people are archiving things about it and talking about it, and it's just
And-
it's crazy to think that there could have been 45 years of people gradually forgetting that movie existed.
And Texas Chainsaw is it's in that weird realm with like Terminator 2: Judgment Day, where it's like both hugely successful movies, and I genuinely have no idea who owns those right now. Like, because that T2 was Carolco, which went bankrupt making T2, and so that's been kind of bouncing around. I have no idea who owns that movie anymore. I have no idea who owns Texas Chainsaw anymore. It seems to change hands quite a bit. So
Didn't who just put out that awesome box set? Was that Dark
I
Sky?
don't know. I didn't know there was one.
I think it's
of all
Dark
Texas
Sky.
Chainsaw.
No,
Ooh.
it's of the 50th anniversary
Yeah,
box
that one.
of the original, and it comes with like a plastic chainsaw, and it's a big box, and it has like, I think it has a VHS maybe in it, plus a 4K, plus a book, plus the plastic chainsaw. We actually won it at Final Exam Trivia,
Oh,
but
no kidding.
I didn't take it. Danny took it home and let his daughter Charlotte have it, because it's a sizable item, and I'm like, I'm not much of a collector of things, and I don't really have room in my apartment to have something like that. I have the Steel K book, the Steel Book 4K of it. I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
But I feel like it was Dark Sky, because Dark Sky always sponsors certain Final Exam rounds and has like Blu-rays and stuff for them to give away. And I think that's who it is.
Well, I want to shout out a couple more supporting actors here. We get very early roles for Dennis Berkeley, who is the kind of big sheriff. He's got that amazing like Texas drawl. I
Sure.
didn't recognize him, but I recognized his voice, and I couldn't pin down why. And then I looked it up. He's the principal on King of the Hill. So if you've watched a lot of King of the Hill like I have, he becomes kind of a bigger
Yeah.
Principal Moss becomes like a bigger and bigger part of that show as it goes on, and he's a very funny voice actor. We lost him in 2013, but he had a great like kind of late career role on that show. And then of course,
if you're somebody who's listening to this and you heard us talk about character actor Keenan Wynn,
yeah,
with a huge career of probably 40 to 50 years worth of work.
yeah.
If you're like, wow, okay, so he's a character actor, I don't know him. If you're someone of a certain age, you know at least what his face looks like, because you've seen his face in newspaper clippings, because he is the Chester Copperpot from the Goonies.
Oh, he is.
So
Keenan Wynn is. Oh,
yeah.
wow.
So you see when they're looking for when they're finding about Chester Copperpot's treasure in the attic, looking at the newspaper clippings, it is a photograph of Keenan Wynn.
Wow.
Yeah, I
Who
looked
is-
at his IMDb and just got a little overwhelmed. I was like, okay, he's been on every show from the 50s
Yeah.
into the 80s.
He's just
And,
one of those guys.
I've
Yeah,
seen
he was
him in all
main,
of it.
he was a mainstay in like kind of every live action Disney movie of the 60s and 70s. So like he's in Absent Minded Professor, he's in Son of Flubber, he's in Herbie Rides Again, he's in all of those corny old like live action Disney movies.
And something we haven't even two movies we have not mentioned, I don't think, yet on this show, both which I think are important to our kind of like film upbringing, or at least informing our taste. He was in both Joe Dante's Piranha and Dr. Strangelove.
Oh, that's right. Yes,
Oh.
Dr. Strangelove is the big one. I don't know why I couldn't place that. I'm like, there's a really huge iconic Keenan Wynn role, and it's Dr. Strangelove. But
Yeah,
speaking
so-
of huge and iconic, the last actor we have to talk about here is one Sir Edward Deason. Maybe more responsible for creating the nerd archetype as we know it than most anyone else outside of like what's the guy, they name check him in the Mystery Science, Arnold Stang. Arnold
Yeah.
Stang is kind of like a 50s
Yeah, that's-
comedian with like the bespectacled and kind of like nebbishy voice, or like John Fiedler, who played the voice of Piglet. Like these are kind of the guys who sort of fed into this like dweebus archetype that we know.
Oh,
But
yeah.
Eddie Deason kind of, he's like the
And-
nuclear option of like a
Sure.
nerd type. Like if you need someone who's gonna like really
Uh-huh.
come in and be almost distractingly nerdy.
I always think of Eddie Deason, and I always think of like the Simpsons version of like the Jerry Lewis voice. It's like,
A little bit.
thanks, Miss Dr. Medical Science type person.
It's totally that. Like his voice seems like impossibly high. He's like this
Wow.
kind of like twitchy, like super skinny guy with like he doesn't look like anybody else or sound like anybody else. And he carved out a hell of a little career for him. Like he kind of came up with Robert Zemeckis, with Steven Spielberg, with all these guys. He had kind of like a brief deep Z comedy leading man career in the 80s with a lot of Fred Olin Ray movies, and worked with Brink Stevens, worked with a couple of friends of the show. And even like as recently as the 90s, like he's the voice of Mandark on Dexter's Laboratory. If you grew up with that show, he was in Polar Express. If you grew up with that nightmare, he's in a ton of stuff. Seems like a weird guy.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Seems like he's been having some pretty severe mental health struggles in the last couple of years. There was an incident where police had to remove him from a diner because he kept harassing a waitress and was like throwing things at people. Like, I don't know. Seems like a bit of
no.
But he's also just a singular. He's one of one. There's really no like.
And if the movie that I first really knew him from, that I watched 1.5 million times as a kid, which is Grease.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of
and Grease too.
And Grease taught me that he has quite a strong throwing arm.
That's true.
That
Yeah,
whole
that's
scene
right.
where he throws the pie at the end, or I forget exactly what it is, but yeah, Eddie Deason, Grease is the first one for me. But again, he really carved out like a specific type of nerd.
It was
in that time period.
It was very startling at first to see him as such a piece of garbage in this movie. Like, I mean, there's a scene in particular where I was like, oh my God, Eugene, what are you doing? Like, what is going on here?
Really, like
a real heel turn in this one.
Yeah, and I don't mean this to be like mean or derogatory or anything to him, but like the man has just a face for bullying. Okay, he's just got a frame for bullying, and I don't mean we should bully him in real life. I just mean the characters that he plays are so inherently kind of like low status, and it is weird that he's even been elevated to like lackey for a bully, which does not seem
he's the
like
second command of the bullies.
He does not seem like he would even reach lackey status. He seems like he would be just kind of like the first victim of all this. And maybe that's his character arc, is that he learned to adapt, and
that's what I
learned
thought
to survive.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like it's odd casting for him to be in any kind of position of power, or any kind of aggressive position. Now, the most important relationship that probably came out of this movie was between Charles Band and Dave Allen, who we love. We talk about him all the time. And he's making his first entry into the Bandiverse. This is his first film with Charles Band, first of very, very many. He, at this time, was working on the Primevals, all the way back then. He was working on it, but by his own admission, he felt like his skills weren't really where he wanted them to be pulling off as ambitious a scale of movie that he was trying to do. So he thought this would be kind of a nice, smaller project for him to kind of cut his teeth a little bit. It's also worth mentioning, and I don't think this has come up even once on our show yet, but at this time, he was kind of riding off of the success of what is actually maybe his most enduring pop culture creation, the Pillsbury Doughboy. Dave Allen is the creator of the original Pillsbury Doughboy mascot that is still used to this day. We still all know what happens when you poke that little guy's belly. That is maybe his most iconic character of all the different things that he's worked on. And that's kind of what he's coming to this movie off of. So he has a little heat. He's going to obviously go on to work on bigger productions after this. He works on Ghostbusters and movies like that, Star Trek 6, all of these other things. But this is his first time working with Charles Band. Charles Band said that he was baffled by how slow the process for making like some of these stop motion creatures were, because he is a guy who likes to make a movie in 2 weeks flat. And for Dave Allen, that's like 2 weeks is maybe like 15 seconds of footage if you're lucky. Like, so it's a painstaking, meticulous process, and I still think like almost nobody did it better.
Would a depressed person make this? That's all I can think of when I think of
that. I think of that every time. That is such a good observation.
Oh yeah, I've been that guy editing something. I'm like, this is fantastic, and I look at the time. I'm only 10 seconds in. 15 seconds in. Oh,
Well,
no.
Leslie, comparing it to Avatar.
Yeah,
Um,
it's so good, but it's amazing that it's I should not say amazing, but it's good that the relationship between Charles Band and Dave Allen continued because yeah, I think they were a little bit at odds here because like you said, Charles Band likes to make things quick, make things cheap, baffled by this like really painstaking process of stop motion. And Dave Allen felt when he did the stop motion stuff for the dinosaurs, he felt like it clashed tonally with the movie. And one of my favorite like quotes from Dave Allen about this, and it's just so funny that he's talking about Laserblast, was he was saying basically how they had put in these dinosaurs and the footage that he worked on into the movie because they wanted to up the kind of sci-fi feeling of it. And he said that he felt that it kind of clashed with what he described as the non-structured ambient Cassavetes approach to Laserblast.
okay, all right. Let's remove our head from wherever that's crawling up. Yeah, let's just call out that this movie is. I think this movie is deathly dull. I'll be honest. I love the Dave Allen turtle aliens. I think those are great. I love some of the supporting performances in this movie. I think there are a lot of really good actors in this movie, but this thing just kind of chugs. You know, we've talked already about kind of the pseudo sequel, spiritual sequel to this movie, which is called Deadly Weapon from 1989, and we criticized that movie for being kind of like over the top in its mean-spiritedness and like in the depiction of the kids bullying and the kids trauma, but like at least that movie had a motor. Like this kid does not feel like he's bullied, you know.
Not at all.
Not really. Like there
He's
is
got
a bully.
pretty sweet life.
Yeah, he never has to wear a shirt. Like not 1 second of his life does he have to wear a shirt unless he chooses to, you know, and he rarely chooses to. But yeah, like he seems really laid back. He seems pretty cool. He's got a beautiful girlfriend. He's got like a, you know, quiet little desert town life that he's got going on. And like, he just does not feel like the way that Rodney Eastman did in Deadly Weapon, where he's like really motivated to kind of lose his mind.
Look at like the only people bullying him. It's like the guy who peaked in high school and Eddie Deason.
He can take Deason. I'm convinced that Kim Milford, strapping young man, can probably beat the shit out of Eddie Deason.
You say that, but the movie proves otherwise when it comes to them actually kind of fighting. It shows that he cannot actually beat, you know, Eddie Deason in a fight, which is kind of crazy. And then I think the actor of the other character, his name is Mike Babenko, I believe. Mm-hmm. He gets taken out by Rainbow Smith in a tennis racket.
Yeah,
sort of embarrassing.
One shot.
Got him.
I mean, yeah, it's still so funny just casting Deason as any level of bully. It's just like he's pretty. He's not even a mini boss. Like he's pretty easily defeatable.
And they really try to frame it like his mom not being there is like somehow an upsetting thing. But like this is the 70s. He's obviously like driving around, teenager.
Yeah. This
is a good situation for him. He has the house to himself. These are not problems, my guy.
No, he's doing fine. Like I wasn't clear if like we were implying that his mom was like a workaholic and that's why she was leaving, or if she's like going to rehab, or if she's got a boyfriend or something. Like it wasn't really clear why she was leaving him unattended. But it was
he looks like an adult. He looks like he could take care of himself.
Absolutely. And I mean that might just be the 70s thing of like everybody looked like they were 40 until they were 40 and then they looked 60. That's true. You know, so like
actually 13 years old.
Yeah, I think that's just exactly it. Like they just didn't have sunscreen back then, so you know, people aged like handbags.
I think it should also. It's worth noting to me, like I don't want to besmirch the career of Kim Milford because he, like you said, he was in Hair, he was in Jesus Christ Superstar, he
Broadway
was
legend,
the first Rocky. In Rocky Horror, all of that stuff. He was, for a brief period of time, the singer in Jeff Beck's band. I mean, he, for all intents and purposes, was a rock star who was kind of trying to dabble into acting. And, you know, had a couple of small parts after this here and there, but remained primarily, I think, most notably a musician. I hate this performance.
It's bad.
I hate
Sniveling.
I hate this performance because not only is he like, yeah, he's like sniveling and whiny through a lot of it, but then when he stumbles upon the laser gun, it's some of the oddest vamping that you'll ever see. I don't get what he's trying to do.
Yeah.
Like it's something. And I remember, like, this is probably as good a place as any to segue a little bit into talking about Mystery Science Theater 3000, because when there's moments in Mystery Science Theater 3000 episodes where they don't riff. Like, there's moments where something's happening on screen and the best reaction is just for them to laugh at what they're seeing. And I think the moment of him kind of swinging the laser gun arm around in the Mojave Desert and going bah, bah, or whatever the sound it is that he's making, you can't really do anything else but laugh at it, because he's not intimidating. If he was like a little nebbish guy and all of a sudden he looked way more intimidating and masculine or something, it would like make sense. But he looks so much wimpier than he does without it.
It's
that
true.
You can't help but just laugh at him while he's doing a very lame sort of Leatherface of spinning the arm around.
That's in my notes, is his Leatherface dance with the can. Yes, that was the first thing I thought of. It is very Broadway, though, now that you put it into the context of the rest of his career.
He has one like robotic laser arm and one jazz hand.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like a synthetic Leatherface. He's Pleatherface. He's Naugahyde face. I don't know. Yeah, no, I had the same thought about like mystery, or about Texas Chainsaw, just like watching him kind of like stagger around with this really cumbersome gun. Like, this gun design, since this whole movie, like, we haven't even really said the basic plot of this, is it's similar to Deadly Weapon, which is that a kid finds an alien weapon out in the desert and he starts using it, but it starts corrupting him and kind of turning him into this alien creature so it's kind of a Jekyll and Hyde thing, but like it also becomes a bit of a Gollum thing, it's the laser gun becomes his precious and it starts to turn him. But the gun that they design is just, what does this look like? It looks to me kind of like a gerbil city, like I expect to see like hamsters and things crawling through this. It's really, really long. It's a lot of clear plastic tubes and boxes, and it just seems clunky.
It reminds me of when you're like a kid and you get a poster or any round cylindrical and you put your arm into it and pretend it's a gun. They just went with that. Yeah. Exactly.
Every time.
The same
word
vibe.
of advice,
Just,
my
I'm
friend.
gonna put my arm in this cylinder and it will be whatever my imagination.
Sometimes you just got to let those hard to reach chips go.
You just gotta do.
Yeah, no,
That's exactly.
You take a Pringles can and you put it on your arm, or you take a like a poster
Your
roll
Mega
or
Man.
something
Yeah.
like that.
Did you mention this movie kind of starts in media res and a lot of movies, a lot of this is a time-honored technique where you want to whet your audience's appetite for something that's going to come later, right? The trick is you don't show them everything, right? You show the hero dying and then he's like, oh, I bet you wonder how I got into this situation. Well, let me take you back. Like, that's kind of the thing. I think this movie just really throws you in the deep end. Like, not only are we seeing that he has turned full alien and that he has a laser arm and that there are turtle aliens that are going to come down and speak to this weird language, like this basically shows us how the movie ends. There's no real like nuance to what we're seeing. There's no like, it's not whetting our appetite. It's spoiling the ending. It's just kind of like, and they try and hand wave it off as a prophetic dream, but it's just showing us how the movie ends.
Yeah, it's so much so that the first time I watched the movie, which was a Mystery Science Theater watch, I was confused in the opening scene because I thought they were showing like somebody else being affected by the laser gun and then leaving it behind, and then Kim Milford finding it. It was really confusing to me the way it was edited, that it was actually starting in media res and then going starting and then kind of going I guess it wouldn't be non-chronologically after that, but like it, just kind of flashing back and then telling us what happened beforehand. I did not catch that in the Mystery Science Theater watch, which I watched this episode many, many, many times. It is the last episode of the Comedy Central era of Mystery Science Theater 3000.
And
So
it's
it
kind
aired.
lore wise, this is kind of an important episode for MST3K, which is not a show that's like crazy deep on lore or consistent with it or in any way. You know, you can watch this movie all out or this show all out of order and you'll pick it up. But this was the inflection point where it's like, this is the end of their Comedy Central run. They didn't necessarily know that they were getting picked up on another network yet. So this is kind of functioning as a season finale or a series finale. And then they get picked up by Sci-Fi, and I think they go another 2 seasons after that on Sci-Fi. And of course, the MST3K still exists in various forms now. But this one was kind of important.
Right. And I remember watching it, and I just remember knowing at the time that, like you said, that this was, for all intents and purposes, the series finale of the show for a little while.
Yeah.
Because it aired on May 18th of 1996, and there was about a 7 or 8 month hiatus where it was switching over to Sci-Fi. And I remember, because this was pre readily available internet and stuff like that, not really knowing the fate of the show, because that summer, the summer of 1996, this aired in May. I probably taped it, which is what I did at the time with a lot of these things, with MST3K, with the X-Files, with the Simpsons. Was like shows I liked. I just popped blank VHS tapes in and recorded them when they were on.
Yeah.
And after Laserblast, I think I was on vacation that summer, thinking, okay, well, that's the series finale of the show, and so I watched it a ton of times. But I don't even think I realized until after the show started on Sci-Fi, which was about 8 months later, that it had even been picked up and that they were doing it. And there were changes. I mean, you know, it went from Dr. Forrester and TV's Frank to Pearl and Brain Guy and Bobo and the Sci-Fi channel set. And I mean, and people can say what they will, but the sort of host segments of the Sci-Fi ones can sometimes leave things to be desired. But I think a lot of the stuff that they chose for those couple of Sci-Fi seasons are really some of the most hilarious choices from that time.
We're getting you have for the Delta Knights and like
Final Sacrifice.
Final Sacrifice. Oh yeah.
Is that Soul Taker? Yeah,
Soul Taker.
Oh yeah, some Joe Esther.
Final
Danger
Justice.
Diabolic. Yeah.
Future War. Funny story about Future War, actually, and I never really had the opportunity to tell this, so I will. Adam, did you go to the Suitable Flesh premiere at Tribeca, or you were working Tribeca then?
I was working Tribeca. I was there right before it started, and I was there when everyone cleared out. So I missed it entirely, but I saw from the pictures it was a good time had by all.
No, it was like that was the first time that I met Barbara Crampton and stuff like that.
Oh, that's right.
The reason I bring it up is because I go into the preview screening at Tribeca. I'm going to my seat. Giovanni Cruz, who's like one of the cast members, is sitting next to me. All the people from the cast, Jonathan Sheck, Heather Graham, all of them, you know, they're all there, and Barbara, obviously. And you know, there's people, I'm saying Mike Flanagan sitting right in front of me, and there's like all these people, and I'm like, oh, this is such a cool event. And I look 2 rows ahead of me, like in the seat directly in front of me is Daniel Bernhardt.
Oh.
And I'm looking at him and I'm like, oh, that guy looks really familiar. Where do I know him from? So then all of a sudden it clicks that it's Daniel Bernhardt, and I'm like, holy shit. I take a picture of him and I send it to my brother, and I'm like, dude, it's fucking Jean-Claude Gosh darn from Future War. And like, my brother's like, why is he there? And I'm like, I don't know. He didn't stay for the entire time. I don't know who he was there with. I don't know what connection to Suitable Flesh he had, but he was there. And I legitimately was like, I don't want to use the phrase starstruck, but I immediately was like just thinking about all of the hilarious stuff, like with him and Robert Zadar in Future War. And I'm just like, why is this guy here? I love the fact that he is, but I don't know why he's here.
Well, now that the story's out there, maybe someone listening can get back to you and
if you know why Daniel Bernhardt is at the Tribeca premiere 2 years ago of Suitable Flesh, please puppetmasterscastlefreaks@gmail.com.
No,
but Mystery Science Theater 3000 has played such a huge role in my life. I mean, it was a show my brother and I would sit and just watch VHS tapes of all of our favorite episodes over and over again, to the point where like the way that I talk to some of my friends in constant "I think you should leave" and Simpsons references, my brother and I tend to use Mystery Science Theater riffs when we talk to each other, and it's like nonstop, and it become like our own language.
Well,
Yeah, I think one of the reasons. Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I think one of the reasons that Laserblast lends itself so well for Mystery Science Theater 3000 is because there's so much dead space in the movie, so many unnecessary montages, and just they really want to show you them getting in the car, driving all the way to their destination, and then getting out and doing what they have to do. So I think it really lent itself perfectly to Mystery Science Theater because there was just a lot of room to breathe and do what they want to do throughout.
I've really come to realize that that is the mark of like a really good bad movie, is if you have an extended sequence of people driving with no dialogue, no music, just like clearly we are filling the film reels because we don't have enough for this script. So like Manos, The Hands of Fate does that. Birdemic does that. Rock and Roll Nightmare does that. Like all these great like good bad movies really like to show nondescript cars driving down nondescript highways.
Yeah, there's a lot of elements that will go on to like come up again in Full Moon. I wrote a couple of them down where, first of all, you have the stop motion guys, stop motion monsters.
Mhm.
Of course.
You have the
Oh, I wish I could pass this
Colonel.
football.
Yeah, you have the Colonel who pops up. I feel like a very similar character pops up in Terror Vision.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
as the
very
grandpa.
good. Yep,
And
absolutely.
Enemy
And
Territory.
there's-
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Jan Michael Vincent. Yeah.
And then there's also the padding of the runtime, which is, all things that would go on to become staples for Full Moon.
Well, and it should be mentioned, like we haven't really talked about Mystery Science Theater much on the show up to this point, even though there have been multiple movies that have been adapted or been given the treatment. Like Dr. Mordred got the treatment, Robot Wars, a couple of other movies. And like, look, we're not oblivious to the fact that nearly every movie that we've talked about on this show would be a candidate for Mystery Science Theater treatment. Like, I think there are definitely some that stand on their own and are more entertaining to watch, but like you could do it with almost any movie that we've covered. But I think Laser Blast is the one that kind of lends itself the best to it of the ones I've seen so far, because it's got interesting things wrapped up in there, but then there's just a lot of empty room for them to riff. And the jokes that they deliver on this episode are some of my favorites, some of the most consistent runners. The Ready for Some Football, The South Will Rise Again, like all these running bits that they have throughout the commentaries are so good. And then you just get like kind of the lore dumps in between, you get like Forrester and his mom, like, and that kind of handing the reins over. I believe this is the last Trace Bulow episode, if I'm not mistaken. So, it's a real changing of the guard. And yeah, that is a show that just introduced me to so much of this world, like ironically at first, yes, but I think there is some affection in the ribs that they're kind of taking at these.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I'm going to say something potentially controversial, which may lose us some followers. I actually prefer Bill Corbett's Crow to Trace Bulow.
I do too. And he's stuck it out longer. He's still doing riff tracks. He's still doing, and I maybe even more controversial. I am more of a Mike guy than a Joel guy. And I think that's just because I was introduced to the show during the sci-fi years. I think my first episode ever was Werewolf, which is one of the best episodes ever.
I mean, it's hard when you get a movie that has both Joe Estevez and Richard Lynch in it.
Oh man, the faces on those guys.
That's a murderer's row.
I want to redo Mount Rushmore and just have it be like Estevez, Lynch, Robert Zadar. I want some mugs. I want the Mount Mugmore. I want something. Well,
you need the square footage of two people's faces to carve Zadar into there.
You really do. We'll just recarve El Capitan to just be El Zadar.
I think like I was a Mike guy too, because I think there was a sardonic approach to him getting frustrated with the way he delivered some of his riffs to the movies that like I love Joel, and I love Joel Hodgson and his kind of like laid back attitude towards the movies, but like Mike's sort of aggression towards the movies was what would get me sometimes. And no disrespect to Baron Vaughn, I think he did a nice job in the Netflix and beyond kind of more recent ones.
Yeah.
But Kevin Murphy is Tom Servo.
He absolutely is.
The only Tom Servo. No offense either to J. Elvis Weinstein, but like Kevin Murphy, to me, that voice, like Tom Servo's riffing voice, just one of my all-time favorites. And I think I just like it the best with Bill Corbett. Now, my first episode was also a Mike episode, which my first episode that I saw, I had seen glimpses of the show. It was like, okay, there's this show. I saw it maybe like a couple minutes at a time on Comedy Central, and it made me laugh. And I was like, okay, I got to find the show. I don't know what it's called, and then I in the guide channel actually said that an episode of Mystery Science Theater was coming up, and it was a new one. And I was like, I think that's that show. So I got ready for it with a VHS tape, and I recorded it. And the first episode I watched in full was Alien from LA, which was directed by Albert Pune.
Yeah.
To bring us full circle back to the things that we cover on our show.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I think I'm a couple of years younger than you guys. So for me, it was all the reruns. And you'd be able to find them in the video store. They would do like the one-off, release the tapes. And I always would just get whichever ones I can. But I was always like more of a Joel guy.
Yeah.
But as time goes on, I'm just happy to watch Mystery Science Theater 3000. But at the time when I would like catch it just starting and it was a Joel episode, that would be like, yeah, let's go.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It was a blast. It was always a blast. It was a laser blast, one could say.
Oh.
And one of the best things about the I'm just gonna gloss over that. I'm gonna pretend you didn't say that.
Yeah, just move on.
One of the best things about the Mystery Science Theater Laserblast episode is when they reference one of our spiritual texts, the Leonard Maltin's video guide. To talk about how he gave Laserblast a 2.5-star review. And then they just spend time finding all of the other like bona fide classics that Leonard Maltin gave 2.5-star reviews to.
Yeah.
Just like Laserblast, this is as good as Amadeus. This is as good as like other movies that he for some reason like didn't like that other people liked. And we mentioned that book before, but like between Psychotronic Video Guide and the Fangoria book and all of those and the Leonard Maltin video guide, for me, like we waxed nostalgic about it on one of our episodes, how it was like every Christmas I knew there would be a giant brick-sized thing in my stocking, which was that book hanging for whatever that year was, starting probably around 93 or 94. I would get it every year. And it was just like, I would just read through it and I'd be like, oh man, what did he give? Like, what did he call a bomb? Like, what was a bomb? What did he give a bomb to? That book, it just informed so much of how I learned about a lot of movies before I actually saw them, was just reading about them. And then the stuff that like Michael Weldon's captions in Psychotronic Video Guide, which I don't think I ever even really took out. I have it sitting right here and I've referenced it a million times on mic and never actually like held the book up before. But this book had just kind of hilarious short things where he was really dismissive about a lot of the movies in kind of like snarky ways too. And so that was just a good resource for finding out about bad movies. And sometimes you run into, let's be clear, like this is a bad movie. Yeah. But it's an endearing bad movie in a lot of ways. And I think it falls under the category of what you said, Steve, as a good bad movie, because you can watch this and riff it and there's enough to keep you interested. Like there's nothing worse than a bad movie that's boring. And even though this movie can be dull and has nothing going on at times, there's enough weirdness to it that like it manages to hold my interest until we get to the denouement, which is the titular laser blasting, which is him just blowing up cardboard mailboxes in the building front.
Yeah. I had watched this last night with my girlfriend who has never seen it before. Didn't see the Mystery Science Theater episode or just regular Laser Blast.
So Adam, what you're telling us is you're single.
When does this podcast come out? I don't want to get in any trouble. So watching her watch it for the first time was actually part of what really made the night for me. And when we finished the movie, the first thing she asked me, she goes, Do they make toys of the little turtle monster guys? Because I would totally get one of those toys. And Charles Band, you brilliant bastard! This is exactly, and they do have toys.
They
of
sure
those little
do. I'm
guys.
googling it now. Yep, there they are. Oh, I want him. I want him.
Yeah, and I think I'm gonna have to buy one now for Christmas or whatever holiday comes up next. But I was like, oh, Charlie
$20
Band,
on
you
$20 on
brilliant,
Amazon
brilliant
right
man.
now. Yeah, so this is not unreasonably expensive.
Yeah, terrible, not terrible, but so bad kind of movie, but it has endearing characters where you're like, I want to spend more time with that. I wouldn't mind having that little guy on myself. That's like the base of Full Moon. And 78, like this is, as early as it gets.
Well, and these are bad movies. And again, I'm aware that so many of the movies we talk about are bad, but like recently we had an interesting example on my other podcast, Cinema Arcade, where we had fairly close together. We had episodes on Manos, The Hands of Fate, which we watched, and like my co-hosts were just like, why did you make us watch that? That's the worst thing I've ever seen. And then like 3 weeks later, we did The Last Airbender, the M. Night Shyamalan adaptation of the Nickelodeon show, which I think we all kind of like immediately were feeling nostalgic for Manos, because there's even like as bad and as boring as some of these movies can be, they'll always kind of feel like the underdog to me. And what I really think of as truly bad movies, aside from like the ones that are really sleazy or hateful or racist or anything like that, like they're these big, bloated, soulless $150 million blockbusters that like, in that case, in the case of Last Airbender, it's literally sucking the joy out of a very vibrant and fun like cartoon show that like a lot of people have a lot of earned affection for. Sure. And then it's just like, now we're just watching like an hour and 45 minutes of this gray, boring, straight-faced exposition dump with characters I don't give a shit about. Like that's a bad movie to me. That's a movie that's like going to be really hard to get through.
Are you telling me there's a Manos Hands of Fate video game?
There sure is. It's a lot of fun.
Goodness.
It was fairly recently made. I think it's maybe 10 years old now. You can get it on mobile platforms.
I'm definitely going to look at that.
It's a 2D side-scrolling platformer that looks like an old original NES game. And then if you beat the whole game, you get to play it again as Torgo.
That's fantastic.
It's a delight. That game's a delight. It's really fun. You can beat it in like an hour and a half, and it's really fun. Check it out on Steam. It's a lot of fun. Same people who made a game, an upcoming game based on the movie Frankie Frico, the Steven Kostanski movie. So we'll get to talk about that down the line pretty soon too.
Yeah. Shout out to friend of the show, Stuart Wellington.
Yes, and Steven Kostanski, who I believe is a listener. Yeah, awesome. I might be confusing people on our Instagram feeds, but yeah, I love that guy.
We quote Psycho Gorman often at the pub that I run.
I love Psycho Gorman. Yeah.
Oh, I like hunky boys. That gets said a lot over.
Don't we all?
Don't we all? Don't we just all?
So Adam, this is a good time. I know you and I were chatting off mic after you were on for the first time, where we felt like there was a lot of time you spent working some of the booths for Full Moon and stuff like that, but we didn't really get into too many like stories. So now would be a time to take a minute or two, and just kind of regale us of like your kind of most memorable or dumbest Full Moon memory or something like that from your time working.
There was a lot. I know last time I spoke about that green room with the Shining Twins. That was cool. But then there were like more like the interactions that I was thinking about, where Vern Troyer at the time came up to our booth, and the first thing he grabbed was Unlucky Charms, and whoever he was with, he was kind of like, how come I did not get a call for this? Like,
right?
This is right up my alley. Like, and he's like, I know that guy. Like, and he was a little
Charlie didn't have that Vern Troyer money. That's why.
That's probably the case. I mean,
Vern
Troyer is not cheap.
No.
What else?
Well, we're a little
Danny
jealous.
Trejo.
I think we're a little jealous, Adam, of you. I think because you've had some interactions with Charlie Spradling.
Yeah.
Oh my God. True. Yes, she was so cool. This was one of I think it was. It might have been Chiller Theater, but that was a great one because we also had Bill Lustig and Charlie Band there, like at the table. But Charlie Stradling was like right next to us, and she was definitely the most fun to hang out with, like just bullshit with throughout the days where, it's not always super busy. There's not always a line. Yeah. And for that, we were right across the aisle from the kid from Bad Grandpa, the little blonde kid.
Oh, sure.
And I don't know if he's in jail yet but that kid is a menace.
Really?
Oh my God. He was just living the gimmick. As you say in wrestling, he was living the gimmick. Just
terrifying
everybody
Mr.
off.
Wilson.
Oh
wow.
It was pretty fun. I'm trying to think of some other good ones.
Well, Adam,
people come up.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, please ask questions because I'm.
Well, I was just going to ask. Like,
stuff,
we've hypothetically asked before. Like, what is like the most common? Like, what's the highest selling like piece of merch from like a full moon table or booth? Because we were talking about how like Evil Bongs, they don't do much for us, but there's obviously tie-in with merchandise and stuff like that. And I was positing like, do people buy it? Like, does that do EBs and stuff like that fly off the shelves?
Yes, they do.
Wow.
The Evil Bongs, the Ginger Dead Mans, the resin statues used to sell really well. Anything Puppet Master. We used to have these really cute like Blade plushies. Those sell really well. Some of the stuff that did not sell well at the time, we had resin statues for a movie called Ooga Booga, which I don't know if you guys covered yet. But
no,
we did not,
but
we've been trying to figure out the way that we're going to cover that one.
Yeah. So to say the least, every main character in that movie had a resin statue, and sometimes like those wouldn't make the table depending on where we were at or what the vibe was. I do remember we did have the crack horse, which is from the movie, and we had that out on the table. And this guy came by with two kids, and the kids were like, "Yo, look, it's our mom." And I was like, "Whoa,
wow.
that's super inappropriate there, guys." And the dad started laughing. He goes, "No, don't worry about it. The mom left us. She is a crackhead. We'll take it." And they bought the resin statue, and I did the transaction with my jaw ajar, but just more like random interactions like that that I remember. I remember Danny Trejo really loving the concept of the movie PMS Cop, little things like that. The guys from Vinegar Syndrome were a lot of fun. They used to be like our neighbors. So anytime Full Moon was on one side, we would have fun with the Vinegar Syndrome guys and the Trauma guys. Actually, the Trauma guys now run, what's the name of the show on Shudder that I watch often? Joe Bob, The Last Drive-In.
Oh, okay, nice.
So they used to all sling Trauma merch at Monster Mania, and now they're doing big things on the Shudder.
Yeah.
But it was just like a really fun experience to be in that con world, and the only problem is it's kind of ruined conventions for me a little bit, where once you see how the sausage is made, you just can't wait to make more sausage.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. Do we have any final thoughts on Laserblast before we close it off here today?
I think this is, like we said, I think this is kind of objectively a bad movie, but I think there is a lot of really interesting kind of ingredients, and the footprints this movie kind of leaves behind are grander than the movie itself. I think even within the scope of our show, like it's a pretty important one, even though it's far from like the most enjoyable of actual movies that we've watched. I think it makes me think of my connection to Mystery Science Theater. It makes me think of like, what would some of these movies be like, or what wouldn't we have gotten if there wasn't the Charlie Band, Dave Allen connection? It's just sort of laying the groundwork for, so many things that the show would be, that we kind of end up talking about week to week. So I find it to be really important in that way. And, it was a hit in some ways. So like something about it resonated with audiences. And, obviously Charles Band has gone on to another 45 plus years of success. So I'm glad it exists. I'm glad it exists. I don't know that I will watch it without the Mystery Science Theater treatment again, but the print of it that's on the Full Moon streaming service that's remastered looks really good.
Yeah.
So
So go do
it's
it.
fucking it's Laserblast.
It's
silly.
Yeah.
Like
it's
you know it.
It's a major minor work, I think, is kind of
If
the
I
best way to
watched
put
it,
Yeah.
if I watched it alone, I feel like I would have been a lot more sour on it today. But watching it with somebody else and just having that like goof back and forth, I definitely think it worth my time.
Yeah, for sure.
There's a lot in the movie to like, and if you like what we do every single week, then you can jump onto Apple Podcasts or Spotify, leave us a little 5-star rating, please. And I'm going to tell you right now, stop what you're doing and review the show, or you will make an enemy for life.
Yeah.
Just review it. If you want to keep up with the show on the socials, you can follow us on Instagram at puppetmasters_Castle Freaks. You can follow me at _Giallo_Jared or Steve at Minotaur Matador. Yeah, I mean, we're on YouTube, Threads, Blue Sky. If you just search the name of the show, you will find us, and we like to, keep you guys updated on what is coming out. I realize we didn't give Adam the opportunity yet. Adam, just really quickly, do you have anything that you want to plug before we tell our guests about Cinema Arcade and next week's episode?
Yeah, for sure. You can follow me on Instagram at Adam Torkel, Torkel. You could also follow the Highbury Pub, Brooklyn's oldest Arsenal pub. We have a lot of fun events. We do screenings, fundraisers, a lot of arts-related things in the community. And we actually released Kilo, which is kind of my love letter to Full Moon. It's a killer pillow movie. It's now on my YouTube page. It is the Kilo with a wonderful poster by Mark Schoenbach with a pillow with giant teeth. You could find it if you just Google Kilo full short film. It'll come right up. And thank you guys so much for having me.
Oh, always a delight. We love having you on. Thank you so much for lending your expertise. And you definitely, if you want to check out more of my stuff, the aforementioned Cinema Arcade podcast is out there. We're watching movies and playing the games based on those movies. Our most recent episode, I think, was our 100th, and we did it on Starship Troopers, which is one of the most wildly misunderstood movies of all time, and the source of a couple of fun recent games, an online shooter and a VR game that I quite enjoyed. So definitely check that out. We got a bunch of stuff coming up in the coming weeks. Weird things like Reign of Fire, From Russia with Love, The Phantom with Billy Zane. We've got all that stuff coming up pretty soon. So
amazing.
Check that out. And be sure to check us out again next week, because we're pulling a double header. And I was going to try and do some mental gymnastics to explain how these two are related. And ultimately, it's we just wanted to lump them together. That's really, it's our show. We just wanted to lump them together. I guess wanted to talk about both of them. So we're like, hey, why not both? So we are talking about one of our last classic era full moon movies, 1992's Seed People. And then we're also going to be, just for fun, throwing in a Kushner-Locke era movie called Shrieker, a Dave Dakota joint that is, both of these are pretty fun movies. And we are joined by returning guest Jed Shepard, who kindly zipped in from the UK to talk about these movies with us once again. So lots of fun. Going to be a good episode. So definitely check that out.
Yeah. I meant to mention also that you can leave Spotify comments that we will see and potentially respond to if you're listening on Spotify. Just another fun way to engage with the show. And you can email us at puppetmasterscastlefreaks@gmail.com with any letters, feedback, questions, comments, anything like that. Thank you again to Adam Torkel for taking the time to join us today and talk about this fun movie.
Guys.
And we will see you guys next week for Seed People and Shrieker. Keep circulating the tapes.